Hello and welcome to our next developer vlog for our indie game or our indie project, Autoconquest. So I think it is the 7th part, and within the last part I told you that myself and Dominic, we both took a week free from our regular jobs. So we had 10 days to work on the project, and I think we put probably more than 100 hours each into the game. So for this week, I wasn't that optimistic that we could show you that much of a progress, but I was really wrong. I was really surprised because Andy did a lot of progress in terms of the combat system, so we will talk about that. And Dominic continued with the tons of overworld world map UIs which we need. So especially the questing system. I think it is very important to understand the questing system, our vision for it, so that you can understand how the game flow is supposed to work. And I think with this developer vlog today, it will be quite obvious what we want to do. And I think we also got a little progress in terms of story building and in terms of including assets. Of course, I cannot show you too much about the story building, but I can show you some of the assets, and by that I mean especially voice acting. There's also a little bit of art. I can show you the art at the end of the video, so we have a little work in progress we can present. But first I would like to start out with the voice acting. Because last week at the end of the video I showed you a video where we, I think, voiced Rilka, and Dominic voiced our character Torben, who's like a little bit of a Arnold, so he's pretty much the typical warrior archetype. And I think it is just much cooler if you now have other voices
Help!
of other characters mixed into this. So I just will play a couple of these dialogues so that you can get an impression of the other voice actors which we actually hired at Fiverr. I will link the links to their channels, and I hope for at least some of the characters that we can continue to work, because some of these characters will have a lot of voice lines throughout all of the storyline. Okay. You maybe remember the voice of Rilka. Our character Alra does not have a voice yet.
Monsters!
But she's screaming help for monsters.
Come on, Alra. Be nice to your sister.
Okay, and her brother Rayo now has a voice. And about the voice of Rayo, there will be things happening in the introduction. They will be very dramatic, and you don't hear it right now, but the voice actor for Rayo is really great. He's very emotional at some points. And when Dominic listened to it the first time, he said he got goosebumps. And I mean, I would say I'm also an emotional person, but I didn't felt the same, but I also thought it was great.
I swear I'm not lying this time.
Ah!
That's my favorite character, Bjork.
My arm! It ripped out my arm!
Very brutal.
Draw your weapons fast!
Okay, this is Dominic, and he got a new microphone, so also in that regard the quality improved by a lot.
I told you!
But of course we have to be careful, we are Germans, so you might recognize that we have this German accent, so probably we will try to hire native speakers. I mean, we don't have the money yet, but anyways, I think we have to hire native speakers. It's kind of hard. Even if you have a good English, you will always hear that you have a little bit of an accent. But I think for the character Torben, it still fits.
What are those creatures? Stop talking and finish this first!
Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of it. Oh, and jump right back into the game. And now I would like to proceed with the... let's mute the audio. And I would like to proceed with the mechanics which we included now. So, in the last video I showed you that we already created different UIs, or especially a UI for the town system. So last week we talked a lot about the tavern system, the rumor system. I think it didn't work the last time, but now you can actually buy another round, and you see that when you buy another round you will get a new rumor, and you will get it also interacts with the resources, so these are not placeholders anymore. So the resources, so to say, they are triggerable, and we can now get more rumors. But what you can also get in the tavern as well, besides of rumors, are that you can get a quest, a random quest. But if you go to the town hall, you will always get quests. So these are, let's say, storyline important quests. So every city, every faction will have their own storylines. As an example, the elves don't like orcs, so at some point the elves will try to bring you to the point when you attack the orcs. So there is a little storyline which will unfold, and the more quests you do, the more reputation you will get with that city. Now I think at that point, as I told it to you last time, I think it is kind of hard to understand how do these quests actually work out. And of course, what you would have here would be a button accept a quest. You would get a quest description and then accept the quest, but we did not link this together well yet, so this has to be changed. But how this would look, you can see right here. If you have accepted the quest, or if you got the quest, you will have a quest log. So this is a quest log. There will be all quests available, and little symbols will be spread over the world map, like little exclamation marks, and then you can click on them, and then you see the description of the quest. For instance, this quest is called Wolf's Blood, and I can just read its description. So I've never seen your face in here, stranger. So basically this is what the guy in the town hall is saying. So you're looking for mercenary work, not sure what to expect from you, but maybe we can test your capabilities with a couple of easy tasks before we hand out the tough ones. A farmer, Tamer Viali, has come to the town hall to report that some wolves are ripping his cattle at his farm close to the Black Sickle. He set up a little prize money if someone can get rid of these beasts. If you want to accept this mission, I'll show you the exact location. And there is also another anecdote, a funny story, because you see that we already have this mini-map, and this is actually not just a screenshot, but it is a little bit of a cooler system. This is actually a second camera, so you see this is the main camera, which I move in the background. But this is a second camera, or let's say a quest-specific camera, which zooms on the quest location. So for at each quest, we will also have a location, and then it films everything which is around. For instance, that is what on my wish list, I think we will never have this, but my wish list would be that all these trees would move at some point and swing in the air, in the wind. I think it would feel epic, but probably we will never see it. But if that would happen, you would see it here in the screen as well, because like I said, it's a camera, it's not just a still. So basically, if something changes on the world map, you will see it right here, and we don't have to make prefabs of screenshots or anything like that. And so now you could accept the quest and then start the quest. And I will show you this in a moment, and I think this is the coolest part. But I want to talk about the UI also a little bit. So I think in one of the last vlogs I told you that most of our UI is just placeholder graphics. And I would say, for instance, like the top and bottom UIs you see right here, these are probably placeholders, to be honest, and I think we should hire an artist who, for instance, would break up these sharp angles and put maybe a little gargoyle right here, or some art style, maybe something architectural like Gothic art, something that it really pleases the eye, so to say. But I think we have so much UI that it will be very hard to create individual art pieces, individually crafted UI for every component. And especially if we change something, then we would have to change the art of the UI as well, hire another artist, whatever. And I think maybe for these standard components, it makes sense to try to get them looking as cool and as clean as possible in the first place. And maybe if we are happy at the end of the project, we just can keep them. So this is once again about the issue with scope. I mean, if we can do it ourselves, it's better than if we would hire someone. Because like I also said in some of the last videos, everything so far is paid out of our private money, and at some point we're at our limits. So I think making this look as cool as possible is, yeah, would also be a different approach than letting an artist draw everything. And I talked so much about this. The only thing I wanted to say at this point is that we put a little transparency into the back layer of that, and I think that looks really cool. If you look here, you see that the lines of the mountain and here the trees, they can be seen through, or here the lake. And yeah, so I think the UI kinda comes together nicely, and I already think it looks very good. So in case of this UI window, you see this little panel right here. So this panel will indicate you how much time you have to accept the quest or to do the quest. I mean, you already accepted it pretty much. And if you fail to do it in time, if you don't send your group there and crush the enemies, the wolves which are at this location, then of course your quest givers will get angrier and disappointed with you, and after some time your reputation will decrease, and the city you are doing this quest for is probably going towards a hostile standing toward you. And I think this would be a very bad idea, because you need the cities and their rewards to basically finish the game, else you will have lots of problems later on. Okay, also I don't like the optics of this button yet. We have to change it a little bit, but aside from that, I think the coloration and the style of the UI kind of looks good. Okay, but what happens now if we click this button? And like I said, now comes the really cool stuff. You see here all our characters which we have in the game so far. They all have stats already. They have attack speed, attack damage, stuff like that. They have so-called synergies. I will talk a little bit about the synergies maybe in a little bit. But what you can do right now, this is not static. And you can also see here, we also use this transparency trick right here. I think it looks really good. What you can do right here, as you would expect from a cool game, you can put your mouse down and drag the character into your group, into the group which is supposed to go on this quest and do this quest for you. So here we go. All right. I'm just wondering where... Ah, here he is. Okay, and here you see Holdor. And yeah, I was a bit confused because the last time I looked at this version, Holdor was actually red and not green. So about the colors are our motivation system. I think this is something which we did not talk about at all. So for every quest, we want to give the quest some traits. For instance, the wolf quest, it will include animals. Maybe if you go to a dungeon, you will be in a cave. So someone who has fear of darkness, he will struggle in such an environment. If you're on a mountain, maybe a character who has fear of heights, he will struggle with this mission. So we will put these attributes on quests, and then we will put traits on characters. And let's say, for instance, in this case, Bjork would be an animal lover. He wouldn't like to slay wolves, so he has this red coloration. So this means his motivation is low. So there will be buffs and debuffs for your motivation, and they will strike really hard. So if you take someone with you who has a bad motivation, his combat stats will suffer a lot. And why we want to include that is, if you will always go with the same groups, that would be kind of boring, right? So you would just send your group to a spot and they would fight, and you would also have always the same synergy combinations. That would be kind of boring. So we want that you have always to think about how do I assemble my group, and how do the synergies make sense. So the synergies is the only thing which does not work here right now. And about the synergies, maybe you've played Dota Auto Chess or League of Legends Teamfight Tactics. So this is the auto chess genre, and they usually have synergies. For instance, they have a trait which is called Front Fighter. If you have only one front fighter, like Bjork, nothing will actually happen, so he won't get any bonuses. But if you have a second front fighter, for instance like Holdor, and we didn't apply how we want to organize the synergies, what classes there are, that this is still open. But let's say we have now these 2 front fighters, and then they will get a 20% HP buff. And so it really plays a big role how you assemble the group. So it does not, maybe sometimes it makes sense to just take the people with the best motivation, but sometimes it will make sense to take someone with a bad motivation. He will suck in combat, he will be unmotivated, but his synergy will be very important that your group can perform, so that you can create a specific strategy. So I think this is really a cool play of mind for the player. So to think about what groups do I want to build if I put a character right here, and you will have multiple groups running at the same time. So if you put an important character in one combination, maybe he will be missing in the other combination. So you have to think about that a lot, and I really like that aspect. So because I'm like a theory crafter in most games, and I think I would enjoy that. And these combinations should always be shown here in probably bright green, that you always, for instance, if you put Holdo out, and then you would see that the front fighter buff would disappear. And maybe if you would have 2 mages, then it would show the mages. And then if you would hover with the mouse over the synergy, with a mouse over tooltip, you would see what these synergies are actually about. Like I said, for instance, front fighters give you 20% HP bonus. Okay, and these symbols indicate the synergy. So as you can see, they are just placeholders, and you see we have 3 synergies. So what we thought about is we want to have the class of a unit and the race of a unit. And as you know, maybe you can see on our world map, we have a lot of regions. Aratka, the region of the orcs, or for instance right here, what did I do? Well, anyways, we have a lot of regions. We have about, I think, 6 or 7 races. So the race would be the second synergy bonus. Tough creatures like dwarves, for instance, would get a health bonus. More agile creatures like elves would maybe get a critical hit damage, or maybe something which is associated to magic. I think one synergy which is set in stone, at least for me, is the Halfling bonus. Halflings are those little creatures in our storyline. They are not the happy folks. I mean, they are happy, but they get treated kind of bad because they are forced into slavery by a lot of the other races. And what their bonus will be, the more Halflings you have, the better they can work with items. So for instance, if you have 4 Halflings, they will double all the passive bonuses of the items. And talking about items, you can see I think if you have about 50 characters, it would be false to give every character its own inventory, and then you would have 6 items, and that would just be too much. So what we said is you can assign 2, let's call them static items, to every character, and 1 consumable item. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And we just created, so Dominic just created a rudimentary inventory. You can already see it right here. So in theory, you could assign items by using that. I hope I can close it. Yes, sometimes some of the windows are not closable yet, so I have to be careful about what I show you. But anyways, so this is our system, and theoretically that does not work yet, but if I would click on Let's Go, I would travel to the quest location with our group, then a combat would start, and then the group would either be beaten or they would be successful. If they would be beaten, they wouldn't be dead, but they would be just injured. They would have to heal up in our castle, in our base, so to say, in our home base, and then they could go for the next mission. Yeah, but anyways, so how would the combat take place? The combat system is, I would say, the second big component in our game. Let's close this. And so what would happen would be a transition from this main scene to our combat scene. And let me show you this combat scene, because a lot changed here as well. So I think I showed this in our third developer vlog. We already have these little creatures, these little models, low polygon models, and if I press on start, they would fight each other. So it is really some simple algorithms. I mean, I wouldn't call them simple. So basically, there are pathfinding algorithms which let them walk towards each other and attack each other. I mean, you can set it up like attack the closest target or attack the target which is the farthest away. And this is done by Andy, and I think he did a great work with his first prototype, but this prototype now progressed. Because what you can do right now is, now imagine you send your group to a quest location, and what will be the first thing you do? The fight starts automatically? No, it shouldn't, because you should be able to accommodate to different situations. For instance, if here was a tree, maybe you don't want to have your warrior standing in front of the tree, because then he has to run around the tree. So what you want to do is you want to pick him up and drag him around, and you can see this also already works. So they probably should have a zone where you can drag them around. But as you can see, I can click on them and they get highlighted and I can drag them around. And what you can also do is that you can, or this will come, but I don't want to show it in this video, you can already click on them and then a little video will pop up with the portrait and all the stats. But we used some placeholders, and I said I don't want to have any more placeholder images in the videos, so that will be part of a next video. But like I said, we can drag and drop them. It also works to switch them like that. You see, switch the position with a unit. I think this is also kind of cool. But typically what you would do is you would put the ranged fighters in the back line. So here we have two mages, here we have an archer, and here we have a front fighter, and then you would start the fight. And last time I think I told you that we already have combat music for our fighting system. So I want to unmute now and let's go. So I unmuted it and let's go and start the fight and let's see how it turns out. And you see, of course, these are just prefabs and some temporary stuff. For instance, this guy is not using his bow, but he's shooting the arrows basically like a throwing spear. But this doesn't matter because this will probably get changed, or of course it will get changed. And what I think is very important, and I will stop the audio again because it's just hard to fight against, to talk against the fighting music because it's so hectic. Okay, but anyways, really like the fighting music. I will put the link of the artist into our description of the video as well. But as you can see here, when the fight is completed, you will get also a summary of how much damage is dealt by what unit. And I think this will help you to understand which of your units are strong, which units should be buffed, which units should be protected. And of course this needs to be a little bit cleaner, maybe with some bar diagrams. But maybe later on in the game you know most of the enemies, or for instance you might have fought against wolves like 3 or 4 times, so this fight won't be that interesting for you. Then I would suggest, I'm not sure if you really want to do that, but at the moment I would say you should be able to skip such a fight to pretty much proceed auto combat, and then you would see at least the stats and know what went wrong, what went good. For instance, if you fail a fight, you're asking yourself, oh my god, how can this happen? And then you see my archer did 0 damage, so probably he died. So this is something, at least myself, I really like it when I, for instance, play League of Legends and at the end I see the damage done to the enemies. I usually get a grasp who performed well, who did perform not so well. And I think this should not be reduced to damage, but also we should give some other metrics like healing or damage taken. And I think this would just be interesting for the player, especially if you have some of the harder fights. Of course, we will have boss fights against larger creatures, and I think then it will be really interesting to see these damage statistics. Okay, now anyways, I think I'm done talking about most of what I wanted to talk initially. So maybe let me conclude with one more thing. And that being that we, as you can see right here, we have an intro scene. So it is basically just a video. When you start the scene, it is a video, and after a while it will transition into the main scene. I mean, I can show you this. We just used a placeholder video. It is actually a video of myself giving a vlog, and you can wait a couple of seconds, or you can also press escape to skip it, and you see now we land in the main scene. But how we imagine the video, I mean, for a little project like our project, you would say, and we don't have any money, so you would expect that we won't be able to create a video, and this is something only AAA titles can do. But our vision is to have like 5 or 6 really cool images in a sequence together, and with a really cool narrative voice telling about the story. And yeah, we have found an artist who would be willing to create these images. And I just want to show you a work in progress. Probably it's too early to show this stuff, but I think it might be interesting for you guys. Okay, and I had a little bit of trouble of finding it, so this is just a work in progress. But maybe you can, maybe it includes some spoilers. But what you can see is it's a big demon sitting on a throne with humans in front of him bowing down. Like I said, it is just a work in progress. It will also get colorized. Hopefully the artist finishes it, because I think it already looks marvelous. And even for such a small project like ours without any funding, I think an art style like that is really impressive. And like also I always talk about the music. I think it's really on par with some of the more successful titles. And I think if we could stick with that quality, that could actually become a really cool introduction video. Okay, with that having said, I think I'm pretty much at the end of what all the topics I wanted to talk about. Maybe if you watched the video and you liked it, I would ask you to subscribe, because for us it is also very cool to get some feedback. So far we don't have that many subscribers, and it is very motivating to just see that people are interested in the project. It just pushes us a little bit more. So if you don't have subscribed yet but enjoyed this video, a lot more videos will come, and we really would like to push this project and finish it. And every subscriber will help us out with that, will motivate us. And yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.